Welcome to the Biz Bash podcast, where we make biz strategy a piece of cake. I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Cami, but you might know us better as Eliza Ann Calligraphy and Cami Monet. We want to help you, our fellow stationers, artists, and calligraphers, confidently build a profitable and personality-driven creative biz.
We're here to share our honest-to-goodness advice and actionable strategies for ambitious artists.
So put on your party hat, quit being a procrastinator gator, and let's get this party started.
Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Biz Birthday Bash podcast. Elizabeth here, and I have a great guest with us today, Sarah Lewis of Slate and Brush. Sarah was just telling me she's listened to all our podcasts, good or bad, so I think that might be a new record. Sarah, thank you very much for listening. Listening to every podcast. We were joking about like the sound and how finicky I am about making sure everything sounds good for you guys. And we were just having a great old time and laughing about it. So Sarah, we're happy you're here. I'm going to read your bio real quick so everyone knows a little bit about you. But of course, then we'll have you tell your own version of your journey and answer all the questions I have for you. So, Sarah is a watercolor artist, overly obsessed dog mom, and pizza lover who started Slate and Brush Design Studio in 2018 after wanting to create a special wedding gift for a friend while working her day job as a costume designer. Fast forward 4 years, and now she is a full-time artist who has worked over 70 weddings and events, sold thousands of products in person and online, has painted many sweet pets, and continues to grow and scale her business every day. Her goal is to always bring a smile to her customers' faces, usually with a pun, and to make her pieces one of a kind and memorable to everyone who sees them. So, yay! So glad you're here. Thank you for reaching out and coming on the show.
Yeah, of course. I've been a longtime fan, and I've been in the community for a long time as well. So it's been really cool to see you guys grow, and I have to listen to all the episodes, and just the community in general is so amazing. So you guys did not pay me to say this, but it has been such a huge part of my business, and I'm so grateful for you both.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. Honestly, that always means the world to us because I think Cami and I struggle with like imposter syndrome just like everyone else sometimes, wondering if we're doing the right thing, if we're doing enough, like what we want to do next. So I might have to hit you up later actually, because we're starting to brainstorm some things coming down the pipeline to get your thoughts since you've been around for so long. So if you're up for that, let me know.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, it's been huge because even though I went to school for fashion design, it was obviously a very creative field, but I didn't learn anything remotely close to how to get artwork from a piece of paper to tea towels and greeting cards and everything like that. So I've been so grateful to have you guys just as a community, and the A to Z directory I look at it like every week just to see like what's the best place to get products, because you don't want to waste time and money by trying out all these random sites that you find just by Googling. That comes in handy sometimes too, but sometimes you just want to find a tried and true place that other people have used and it'll turn out great. And I just use that A to Z directory all the time.
That's amazing. Do you have a coupon code, by the way, if you're an affiliate? Because if you do, we'll give that to people this episode so that they like come through your link.
Yeah. It should be under Slate and Brush, and is spelled out AND.
Okay, perfect. I'll make sure that all of that is linked. So if anyone listening joins the directory, we'll make sure that there is a link for you to follow to make sure that Sarah gets credit for it and you can use her coupon code for $20 off your first year. So thank you again for the compliment. It really does mean a lot. And I'd like to turn the attention back to you and your business and what you do. And obviously, we know that you were working as a costume designer, but tell us how you ended up here on your creative journey, and when did you want to know you wanted to be an artist and specifically run your own business? Because obviously you were in a creative field before. So what were the steps of getting to that point of having your own business?
Yeah, so during school, we had only 2 illustration classes that I took, but those were always my favorite out of all the classes that I took, from draping and creating collections and everything. So I knew I loved to paint, but I never really did anything with it because when I started my full-time job, I first interned there. And then when I was asked to come back once I graduated, everything was done on our Wacom tablets. So even though I was drawing every day and creating these pieces, it's very different to go from just drawing digitally versus like paper and paint or pen or whatever you use. So I was really missing that truly creative part because I also worked with buyers every day. So, if I wanted to do something really special with these costumes and ready to wear pieces, I really couldn't because you had to market to pretty much mass America or middle America because they were buying hundreds of thousands of each pieces that I did. You couldn't do anything too crazy. So I was kind of feeling a little stuck and I wanted to create a wedding gift for my friend. We've been friends forever. And I was like, I want to do something a little special along with the check. So I got some like crusty old paints from my college days. And I went to my spare bedroom and I ordered some pens off of Amazon. I was like, I hope I don't waste this money on these new supplies. Meanwhile, I've spent like $1 million since then on new supplies. But I said that adds up fast. But I created a piece, that painting, and I posted on my Insta story. And my friends were like, oh my God, this is great. Like, I'd buy that. I'm like, really? So I did another painting that night and I got really great feedback again. And kind of the rest of the week, I did like a painting a night and I got really great feedback. My friends were like, I'd pay for that. I'd have you make something similar. And I told my boyfriend at the time, I was like, I think I should create another Instagram just for this. He's like, do you have enough content to fill it? I'm like, we'll find out. And so I kind of kept making things. And at the same time, my coworkers were starting to get married and get engaged. And they asked if I could paint wedding invitations. I was like, I mean, how hard could it be? The answer is very hard if you don't know. Like, you have no idea what you're doing. The answer is very hard, but I learned a lot and they were so supportive of me, which I'm so grateful for. And that was her wedding was Labor Day. So for Christmas, I was like, I want to sign up for a show. So I was literally painting it in my studio. I would drive to the nearest Staples, get it scanned, come back to my office, get there early in the morning before anyone could see me doing it, use the tablet to remove the background, and then print them again at Staples. So like, you just make it work in the beginning. And I decided to add greeting cards that first show because it was Christmas. My mom, it came in a pack of 20. My mom said, you should probably get a pack of 40 just because it might do well. And now I buy a lot more greeting cards at once. So that was definitely the right move to make by starting with some, like the art prints as well as greeting cards. That way I had 2 different price points to choose from. And I started doing more shows and custom work and just kind of building up my portfolio. And I was still working my day job. I would start working my stuff after like 10 p.m. and go until 3 a.m. every night. So that way I could still spend time with my friends and everything like that and do work stuff. And I did that for a while. And then during COVID, I quit my job. My boyfriend and I, we broke up after 4 years and I moved back to Maryland to do my job full time. And I have never been happier.
Oh, amazing. So when you moved back to Maryland, is that where your family is from originally?
Yep.
Okay,
yeah, so
awesome.
Back in the old hood.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm glad that you could say that after a breakup from a long-term relationship that you're feeling happier and that you're feeling fulfilled with everything that you're doing in life because like breakups are not fun, as many of us probably know from experience. So tell us how did your previous job as the costume designer influence what you do now, if at all? So AKA, what skills do you feel like you might have brought with you from that position to this creative job? Because I feel like regardless of what field you're in, there's still some things that translate.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm so grateful for that. I mean, it was pretty toxic at the end, but I learned so much because I sat next to the graphic design team. So I feel like I pretty much got a graphic design degree just by sitting, because these were like some of the most talented guys I have ever met. Insane what they could do with Illustrator and Photoshop and InDesign, everything. And because I always made sure to sit next to them with our seating arrangements, they taught me everything. So I feel like I have a really interesting background because I'm able to do like photo editing for people and really do a lot of different things with the programs without having to really look up how to do things. So I feel very confident with my Illustrator and Photoshop and InDesign skills, which is so invaluable because I learned way more just with them in general and like me ask them questions. So grateful for that. And I still have not the super nice tablet that I had at work, but I now have the tablet at home. So I'm able to do some similar things as well. So that's probably the most things I learned from that. But then also different things like SKUs. I learned how to label everything correctly, hitting MOQs. So kind of more of the language for that. So I felt more comfortable when people were talking about those like acronyms.
Right.
So that was another thing that was big as well. I don't do clothing really anymore, but I think everything really applies in that creative field.
Yeah, that's perfect because I think a lot of people, when when you come from your day job position, right, to having your own business, I think people are sometimes really quick to just dismiss that time when there's actually so much that we have gleaned in one way or another. Like I even look back at my time in, and even if it's like in your own personal life, I look back at my time in real estate for like the 1 year where I like hated my life. But that
Yep.
taught me so much actually about like systems and workflows and processes that I didn't even realize until later on. And also like when I bought my house, I wasn't scared because I knew everything that went into it. So it like
hmm
personally blessed me too, while my husband was like breathing in and out of a paper bag because he was so freaked out.
That would be me. 100% that would be me.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about then when you first started. So you started back in 2018. You said you went full time in 2020. But when you started, what services and products were you offering at the time, at the very beginning? And which ones were the first to go? And which ones do you still offer today? I know that's a lot all at once.
Yeah. So I think in the beginning, I did everything. Like if you wanted to give me $10 for something, I'd be like, yeah, sweet. I will paint whatever you want. Because I didn't really know what my style was like, what I wanted to look like. Because for me, I was just trying to make a nice wedding gift for my friend. I was like, people are going to pay me for a painting? I feel like everyone's creative. So I definitely did all these kinds of things. I also did a lot of logo designs for people. And that was definitely one of the first things to go because I really just don't enjoy doing it. Every now and then, if a friend needs something quick, I'll do it for them. But it's just not something I really enjoyed. But again, in the beginning, I was just trying all these different things because I didn't know what I would end up loving. So I think that's important too, is just experimenting and figuring out because your business will not look the same the first few months than like years later. And it shouldn't. I hope it grows and changes because otherwise you're not really experimenting.
Right.
So I think that was really big. Also just building my products in general of just like whole different things of like from birthday cards to actually my best sellers right now are any kind of Jewish cards. So bar and bat mitzvah, Hanukkah, Passover, they're my best sellers. So again, you never know until you start trying things. And that was what I was really experimenting with. But also for a while, I was very apprehensive to try new things. So I was nervous they weren't going to look as good because I'm a perfectionist. So one thing that people kept asking for, pet portraits. And I was like, nah, I don't do them. They're not going to turn out great. And finally, I did my first one. And now I have a million to do. So that's been huge for me is like these pet portraits. I can charge a lot more now since I've been doing so many and I'm able to really customize them. And they make really great gifts. So that's been probably one of my best sellers for products.
That's awesome. I'm glad that you have been able to kind of find your niche of what has worked really well. Because I feel like once you start accumulating enough products, which obviously we're going to talk about expanding your product line, that you finally hit on one that continues to stay around for forever and just do well for whatever reason that may be. So with those cards, is it because you had friends that were buying them from you and then telling other people? Or do you think you just had like the right search words to be found for the bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah cards?
So for those specifically, my dad's side is Jewish and my mom's side is Catholic. So I try to be as inclusive as I can for people celebrating different holidays. So from the beginning, I wanted to make sure I had a little something for everyone. But I've been getting a lot of good feedback from my wholesale stores. So I do sell on Fair, Abound, and also just local stores that have either reached out or I reach out to them. And I've been getting really good feedback from them saying, we have this huge customer base and we would love to have more options for that. And like they eat them up because at least for those kinds of cards, a lot of times they're super cheesy and people don't want to buy them because they're just like the basic cards. So if you have something that's a little bit different and has a really niche group that's willing to pay whatever because they're so excited to see something that's for them specifically, especially for holidays that aren't for Christmas. I think that's really important and it does extremely well for me at least.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely can see how that would be like a niche that would probably be underserved in some ways in terms of like having beautiful cards. Some of the calligraphy I got paid the best for ever was actually for a bar mitzvah. Bar mitzvahs for the girls, right? Did I mix that up?
Bar is boy.
Thank you. Okay. And then my husband,
Yeah.
I told my husband that there was actually a difference between the two. He was like, no. Like all of them are a bat mitzvah. And I was like, no, babe, I promise that there's like a bar mitzvah. It depends on if you're a boy or a girl. So that was really funny. It was like one of those memes. I was today years old when I was found out type of situations.
Yeah, and say if you don't go to them, you really don't have any idea. So it's definitely a underserved market. But I mean, these bar and bat mitzvahs, they're mini weddings. They're amazing to go to. And like,
Yes.
they're probably nicer than a lot of weddings too, because they just put so much time and effort, and like, they're so much fun. I loved going to them growing up.
You can do like invitations. You could have a whole invitation business for those events alone, truly.
Yeah, because then you have siblings, and then they tell their friends about it, and that's really how it grows. Is just like, especially for me, it's all word of mouth. So I'm so grateful. I have the most. It's all started with my friends and family, and they're the most supportive people in the entire world. Like, my dad has shared every single Facebook post, and I post every day on Slate and Brush Instagram. Every post he has shared on his Facebook. I'm like, thank you, Dad.
Oh, that's so sweet. It makes like such a difference, and it's so wonderful when your family's there to back you up on everything.
Oh, absolutely. Especially with going in a creative field, because a lot of parents, they aren't supportive of that. Where, I mean, I don't know, a lot of parents would be like, yeah, go to school for fashion design. Like, sweet. So I'm very grateful that they've been there from the beginning, and they always put me in art classes growing up and always bought whatever supplies I needed or wanted. And I'm very grateful for them.
That's awesome. Hey guys, we just wanted to hop in and talk about one of our amazing resources, the A to Z directory. All of us have thought at some point, how did she do that, or how did she make that? And maybe you don't know where to start or how the heck to produce this amazing product you've dreamt up.
Well, the A to Z directory is the missing puzzle piece in your biz, you guys, seriously. So it's built in the form of a yearly membership, and it's your one-stop shop for finding suppliers and vendors for all the things. Literally where to print everything from custom invitations, greeting cards, mugs, koozies, acrylic printing, letterpress, custom ribbon. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And it literally goes from A to Z. From acrylic printers to zipper pouches, we have it in the A to Z directory.
We want to help all of you search less and create more with this list of 300 plus vendors and suppliers. Don't worry, they're very organized. It's not going to be overwhelming and confusing when you join. And this membership also includes access to a private Facebook community. It's incredibly active and involved. And if you need a question answered fast, that is definitely the place to go.
Yeah, our Facebook group really is the best. You guys, everyone is so helpful in there. And we're in there too, answering questions you guys might have. So it's a great way to get access to us and ask us things without sliding into our DMs. So we're more likely to answer you in the Facebook group, just saying. Anyway, also in the Facebook group, this is new for 2020, and we're really excited about it. We are hosting monthly Power Hour Q&A sessions that are live, and these are only available to our A to Z directory members. So you can hop in with us live and ask us all your burning questions in real time and just hang out with us every month. And we do these at different times, so you can actually be there live, and the replays are always available in the Facebook group for members.
This resource is priced at $147 a year, which honestly is extremely affordable and is full of so many benefits, such as exclusive vendor coupons for members only. And we would love to have you guys join. Seriously, it's kind of like our family and our tribe. So visit bizbirthdaybash.com/directory to sign up today and use coupon code podcast2020 to receive $20 off your first year. That's podcast, all caps, 2020 for $20 off your first year.
We can't wait to see you in the Facebook group.
Okay, so what do you think the percentage split in your business is currently for weddings versus products versus portraits? That's kind of like the three buckets I kind of see your business being in. Feel free to tell me if there's something else too. So if you had to guess off the top of your head, how do you think that breaks down?
So I'm terrible at math, so hopefully this adds up. Before I'd say it was a lot. It was probably like 80-20, 80 being products, and then 20% being weddings. But most recently, my wedding side has really exploded now that weddings are back. And I became a preferred vendor for this one winery in New Jersey, and it's like a wedding factory. So I have a ton of clients from that. So I'd probably say now it's about 30% products, 60% weddings, and then 10% pet portraits.
Okay. I think your math is right.
Yeah, I was like, mentally, I need a piece of paper to write this down, but approximately that.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, it's just helpful, I think, sometimes for people to know. I'm always curious of how things break down for everyone's business. And it's actually really fun to look at all of that over the years too as it changes. So Cami always does that every time we do like a year in review. She's kind of able to see how the revenue breaks down. And it's cool to see the shift in that as everyone's business kind of changes and grows over the years.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's definitely not what I expected.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Let's talk about officially self-funding products. So expanding your product line the self-funded way. I was really excited when you pitched this idea specifically because I think for a lot of people, if you're not getting grants or loans or whatever, you are already doing some element of this, but you might not even realize it. Like they might not be intentional about it when they're planning out their business. So can you just tell us first and foremost an example of a product you self-funded? Like when did you first start implementing this strategy?
So I think the key part first is to start small with products that don't cost as much, and that way you don't feel as not pressured, but don't feel as like stressed to sell right away, because certain things like tea towels or keychains and stuff like that can be pretty pricey per one. So I definitely started with smaller and less expensive products. So greeting cards, stickers, stuff where the minimums were pretty low. And then I kind of worked my way up to the bigger items like those tea towels where they could be $6, $7 each. And when you buy a lot of them, that adds up pretty quickly.
Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So for people who are wanting to do this going forward, self-fund their products, what are things that they need to keep in mind?
So I think the beginning part is to kind of figure out what vibe you're going for your whole business. So if you want to keep something that you mainly stick with paper products, or if you want to branch out so that way you have everything like Rifle Paper Co., where they have their prints on everything. So I think you kind of want to look at that way, and also your price points if you want to be something more budget friendly versus luxury, because that's going to affect what products you choose, as well as what's also important is packaging. So I think in the beginning you want to make your products as similar as possible so that way you can package them the same. So use the same cello bag sizes. That way you can buy it in bulk and bring your costs down, as well as any kind of mailer you use. So in the beginning, I do a lot of the art prints and greeting cards. Well, I made the mailers the same for the notepads and my greeting cards, and use the same cello bag sleeve. So I could really buy a lot in bulk and not have something very specific where it has to have some fancy box or something like that. So I think it's important to look at packaging. And then also to fund new designs, I would, all the profits I made from these other pieces, like the cards and art prints, I would kind of save that and put that towards these bigger items. And even if you want to do certain things, like if you want to add like mugs to your collection, you don't want to buy a ton of inventory, print on demand is such an awesome option for you because you don't have to buy any inventory. You're just going to upload your artwork and then make something like Printify or Print and Mint. They're going to take care of everything for you. So I also did a lot of that as well because I didn't want to, just shipping mugs in general is like a nightmare. So I would always just do that as it is because I don't want to have to deal with that. But I think people kind of forget about print on demand, and that's a great way to even see if people are interested in things like t-shirts and stuff like that. You can just add it to your Etsy or your website and then see how it does, and then eventually bring it in-house.
Yeah, I know that Cami did that with her tea towels for a really long time where it was all print on demand. And then once there was enough interest and enough of those in inventory, she brought them in-house and also switched vendors. I think that was one of the issues she was having was kind of quality.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, well, for this price going forward, it doesn't make sense to do print on demand anymore. But she did tea towels that way for years, doing some sort of print on demand. So that is
it's great.
Good insight for people.
Yeah, I really like that especially for things that or say you only sell a few of them. Like you want to do it like a test run, things like that. Print on demand really is pretty awesome. And you are making less money on each, but it's so much less work. And sometimes when you're doing so many things that are so hands-on, it's nice to have a product that you can just upload once and be done with it. So I do like that part, like saving a lot of time. That's huge.
And isn't there a way to like sync Etsy with some of those platforms now so you don't have to be resubmitting them every time someone orders?
I think there is, but I always get nervous that's going to like pull the wrong size. So I have like the upload. I'm like, I don't know if I trust that fully. If it's something like a mug, then obviously that's totally fine unless you say it's just like the size of it or the ounces. But for that, it like takes 2 seconds anyway, so I don't have it connected, but I think it does connect with certain things. I have Etsy and as well as Squarespace as my email or my website. So that is an option too, and it's even less work if you do it that way.
Okay, cool. And something that I hadn't written down, but now I'm curious about now that we're talking is where does a credit card fit in with all of this? Because I know some people are really passionate about running their business just off of debit and the funds they have. Other people are more willing to like stack a credit card a little bit more and then pay it down. So do you mind sharing what approach you take?
Yeah, so I have my Chase credit card, business one. It's amazing, and I get a lot of points back. So I highly recommend that for anyone who does a lot of paper products because you get up to like 5% back, which is amazing. So I've actually used credit card points a lot just because it racks up pretty quickly between everything that you spend to fund new things. I try to keep it at 0 for my credit card every month just because I know how quickly it can go out of hand. But I think if you keep a little bit of debt, that's perfectly fine. Or if you can kind of save up for a bit and once you pay it off, then you're good. Or like have enough money to pay for $1,000 or $2,000 for the product at once. It's just like being smart. Also know like your own spending habits. So if you're someone who won't pay it down quickly and it kind of racks up really quickly and you don't want to have that, then I think you should be smart about how you pay it and make sure it's down to 0 every month, or make sure you have like a little savings account just for new products. That's also another option. And you can kind of see how much you have in there and spread it out that way. But I think there are ways to do it where you're not going into crazy amounts of debt. That personally scares me. I don't want to have like $25,000 racked up because that'd be overwhelming to me. I'd rather keep it at 0 and feel comfortable and save enough up to do that. But like I've also invested in coaching and I was able to do it like a monthly payment plan. So that's also an option too if you're able to work with vendors that way.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much for being open about that and willing to share with people what you do for the finance side of it. I am curious as well, like more pointed finance questions. When you use this technique of like funding your own products going forward, are there ever times in your business where things are tight and you're not paying yourself as much? Or is this just something you've gotten used to over time, kind of the roller coaster of that, and it feels more normal to you? It also sounds like, of course, you're using some like good business and finance sense, but do you ever like, I guess, sacrifice having a paycheck to try to bring new products on?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also it depends on the time of the year. So you could be like right now prepping for holiday stuff. So you're going to be spending a lot more on product, but you're going to be making up that in the next few months. So it kind of depends on the time of year. Obviously, holidays are, at least for my business, are the biggest time. So I know I'm going to invest a hefty amount in the summertime, but also this is good timing because I have so many summer weddings. So I supplement a lot of my products by doing weddings because I can charge a lot more than what I make off of a greeting card or sticker. So I try to have things even out where if I spend more on products, I'm really going to focus on cranking out some wedding items, whether it's invitations or I do a ton of day of items. So like the signature drink signs and seating charts and things like that. So I try to have things even out so that way I'm still about the same. But it's never, that is the one thing I do miss about the corporate job is having a steady paycheck because I knew to the cent what I was going to get. But some months are going to be awesome. And you just have to make sure you don't spend all the money that you make and save that for when the months aren't as good. Because some months, like for me, January is the worst month by far. So I have the best month in December to the worst the next month. So I think after you've done it for a couple of years, you kind of recognize the seasons that you're in and the months that do better versus other ones. So you can really kind of plan ahead. I think that's super important to make sure you know it's not going to be consistently up or down.
Exactly. And I really liked what you said earlier about having like a savings account for products, because then if you want to be really intentional about it, like you said, the wedding invitations kind of supplement some of the products. It's like you could even tell yourself, hey, I'm going to take 15 or 20% of every wedding project I book goes into my product saving account. And I know that that is the money that I specifically have set aside to investing in products. And then it's like there's an actual visible number there for you rather than just like in my mind, oh, I think I have enough, because I've done 5 weddings in the past month or whatever it may be. So I'm a big fan of having different financial buckets and breaking things down in that way to just keep yourself on track more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you also never know, like a lot of stuff went down because of COVID and stores weren't buying as much. So you really never know. I think it's, like you said, it's so important to have those different buckets because some months are going to be super strong in one area and some months it's going to be the opposite. So I think if you have multiple streams of revenue, it's going to really make a huge difference.
Yep. It's the whole don't put all your eggs in one basket type of motto.
Yep. I've definitely learned that the hard way a couple times. So once you learn it, then you're like, I will never make that mistake again.
And because you really, obviously, I can tell you really like the balance that you kind of have in your business now. So do you think weddings are going to stick around for you long term? Or is there a point in your business when you want to maybe focus more on one or the other? Or is this something you haven't decided yet?
So I like aspects of both. I think products are really fun because I can design pretty much whatever I want and be really creative with it. Invitations, you can still be creative, but like the customer is going to change things. Like it's very, very rare to have them approve it as is with no changes. So sometimes I'm like, I wish I could have like done it differently. I don't like how that turned out. But I do love working with those couples because I feel like I really am part of such an important day. And like it brings me so much joy to see them really excited about everything. And getting the photos back is really exciting and being able to submit them to different things. So I really do love that aspect of it. And I just love weddings in general. Like they're my favorite thing ever to go to myself. So I'm like, I think I'm going to always do weddings. Certain things I've phased out and I won't be doing as much, but I think weddings will still be a huge part of my business. The downside with products is that sometimes they sit for a long time if things don't sell.
Yep.
You also make a lot less on each thing. Like, especially if you're doing wholesale. I mean, it's $250 for a card at wholesale price. So that's a lot of cards you have to sell to make up for like one invitation suite that I do. So definitely some upsides and downsides to both. But I'm someone who likes to do a couple of things at once. So I feel like I would get bored if I chose just one or the other.
Right, exactly. I feel that completely. Like it's always been something for me. I like having my hand in a bunch of different pots, I don't want every single day to look exactly the same. I don't want my tasks every day to be the same. I'm always changing what I'm doing. And as long as the income and revenue is there, I try not to like fret about that too much,
Yeah. And the whole point of like you having your own business is to be creative with it. Like I never want to have me or anyone else be like, ugh, I freaking hate my job. And it's like, you created your job. So if you're creating it, you should be able to make it so, I mean, not every day is going to be great. Don't get me wrong. But overall, you should be so happy with your decision because you're the boss of your business and your life. And you have to make the right changes in order to be happier overall. So I've definitely learned a lot of what I don't want from my corporate job because I want to eventually, like, I'm actually hiring someone on my team this week and I want to hire designers eventually. So I learned what not to do. For how to treat people and everything. But you got to make those changes, whatever that means, in order for you to be as happy as possible. Because especially if you're your own business owner, it like consumes your life. Like I think about my business or I'm working like the majority of the day. And if you hate the majority of your day, then it's just not worth it.
Yeah, not worth it at all. I hope that we are the generation of people who, when they leave their jobs, like you said, you're hoping to make an opportunity for someone else where they could actually like enjoy a position working for someone else. And so I hope it's like our generation creates a bunch of jobs and opportunities that way because like you said, you learned what you did not want in the corporate field. And now you hope you can give that to someone else.
Yeah. And like as much fun it was designing like 4 different nun costumes and Dr. Seuss and everything like that. Like, I feel like it's much more meaningful to see someone's face or get these reactions from like, I've done a lot of pet portraits where like the pets passed away and they give it as a gift. And I never got that kind of reaction from someone wearing this like polyester costume with Velcro on it. You know what I mean? So like, I feel like I'm making more of a difference this way. And that kind of helps me get through the days where I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing with my life? Like what's happening? So it gets you through those rough patches because that'll definitely happen. But overall, I'm I'm grateful that I was able to quit my job. And I tell all my friends whenever they complain about their jobs, I'm like, you should just quit. Like, you are a bad influence. I need to stop talking to you about that.
Yeah. Okay, so for the costume thing, let's like double back to that really quick. When you say that you design nun costumes, is this like these are like costumes going into a Halloween store or on a movie set?
No, so it's actually Spirit Halloween. It's like the store that pops up
Yep.
every Halloween. So I was the corporate design, one of the corporate designers. So you've seen
Oh
my
my
stuff.
gosh.
You can like walk around. So like if you went to a store, and they still sell stuff for years, so I can still go in, and also for Spencer's as well. So I did like I've done so many mesh bralettes. It's actually sick. So like anything for festival wear, like EDM festivals, I did like a lot of mushroom patches and weed prints and all kinds like stuff you would like never would think of. Crazy mugs, bandanas, things like that. And then for Spirit, I was primarily the women's and men's designer, but then you also had licenses. So I worked like Dr. Seuss and Baywatch and a lot of anime. I would take over like whether it was like kids, accessories, whatever it was, I would do like the whole collection. So it was really cool like going into stores or like seeing people on Instagram I didn't know, or like going out to the bars on Halloween and be like, I made that. So I did like it once a year. And then for any like holiday stuff I did for Spencer. So like Christmas and things like that. It was pretty cool to see all my stuff being worn by strangers.
Yeah, super cool, huh? That's wild, but also can see why like transitioning to do your own thing creative would be much more fulfilling in the
Yes.
long
And like,
term.
yeah. And I do miss certain aspects of it. Like my coworkers were amazing. And I'm so grateful for the friendships I made. But I was there for 5 years, and I think it was about 3.5 years too long. So I met my
Yeah.
quota at the end. But again, like I learned so much, what I do want, what I don't want, the graphics team. So like my skills are a million times better because of them and the job that I had to do, because I was making patterns every day and drawing and doing crazy graphics and things like that. You really get thrown into it, which I kind of prefer versus like anything else. I'm like, yeah, just throw me in the fire and I'll figure it out. I love some problem solving. So that was really interesting, but it's definitely not the typical job. And I feel like people think I'm making it up whenever I'm like on a dating site. And they're like, you did what? I'm like, yeah, that was me. I am the schmuck designing these costumes when you walk into the store.
That is so funny. It just like cracks me up.
Yeah, because you don't think about it.
Yeah, you always kind of wonder who's behind the scenes. Yeah, doing all of that stuff.
Yeah, and we did have to work one day in an actual store, even though we're the corporate. And it gives you such an appreciation for retail, because I do it one day a year. I'm like, I'm exhausted. I can't handle this being on my feet all day. So I definitely got a good appreciation. But I was also like, everyone thought I'd be super into Halloween since it was my everyday. But every Halloween morning, I'd go into our closet and I'd be like, what should I be this year? Because I would never think about it ahead of time.
Yeah, honestly, I grew up like not celebrating Halloween, so even as an adult, I feel like I'm not that into it. Except maybe one day, like if I ever have kids, that would be fun.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like really fun with littles, but otherwise, yeah, I that completely makes sense to me that it's like if that was your job at all times, you wouldn't be as into it. So
Yeah.
tell us what you are hoping to add to your line this year, if anything, for products, just as well as some intentions that you have through the remainder of the year. Any big goals, anything like that before we wrap up?
Yeah, so I was thinking about doing different kinds of keychains. I was looking at the different options, like the PVC. So it's more the plasticky versus the enamel ones. So kind of going back and forth about that. I also want to do more. I have tea towel designs now. I actually use the same company that Cami uses. I'm so grateful I found them through her. But I want to expand and have more designs on that, as well as like kind of build. I have so many cards. I want to build out more of the other options like notepads and stickers, but definitely the tea towels are huge. And also to work on my packaging for a couple of the items. Last year, I added last minute these tags for the holidays. And I feel like they could have done better if the packaging was better, because I literally did it so last minute and just added them at the end. And they still sold well, but I think in person they would do better if it had better packaging. So I'm going to work on stuff I already have and like reevaluating that. I think it's important to like look at things, because packaging sells. That's the first thing people see. And I want to be as pretty as possible while being economical and also quick to put together, because I don't want to have something that takes a lifetime to like assemble, because then I'm going to be so upset if I get an order and I'm like, I have to put that together. So I had to be conscious of all of those things.
Yeah, totally. I think that's a great way to spend the rest of the year, is reevaluating what you could do better rather than just adding more. And then by the time you get so far ahead of yourself, it almost feels too late to pump the brakes and go back to kind of catch the, or like tie up the loose strings, of things that you wish you had done better.
Yeah.
So there's a time and season for everything. Sometimes the season is to go, and sometimes the season is to just slow down a bit, reevaluate, what can we make better? And like having that self-awareness of, hey, I think those tags could have sold better if I'd packaged them better, is really great for you to kind of realize and figure out.
Yeah, and I think also, like, when we talk about going back on things, for everyone listening, if you do cards, don't do what I did. I originally started printing everything in-house, which was fine, but I did them based on like Hallmark card sizes. So I did everything A7. So now I am unfortunately having to go back and redesign everything to be the A2 size that is standard. So definitely working backwards stinks, but I learned my lesson so I can save anyone else some time. A2 is standard greeting card size for wholesale and everything else. So certain things you will definitely learn along the way with products, like the wrong size, or like I said before, packaging, and all those things make a difference, but you figure it out. And I did, like I said, talked about before, I invested in a coach. I have Kat of Kitty Meow Boutique, and she's been helping me through all that. And I definitely fought her for a bit on changing from the different size cards, because I didn't want to, but I'm very glad I did. So sometimes you just have to take one for the team and redo things to make sure it's the right way.
Yep, exactly. That makes a lot of sense. And it's good it's finally happening. Definitely a wise tip for anybody who's like getting started in that world. So Sarah, we are probably going to be wrapping things up here. We're so thankful for your time with us, and make sure that you tell everybody where they can find you, your website, social media, all of that.
Yeah, so it's pretty easy to find me. Everything's under Slate and Brushed. So Instagram is Slate and Brush. And then I also kind of typed up everything and made a PDF for everyone, freebie of everything I just kind of said, because I know I'm personally very visual, and I normally listen to podcasts like while walking my dog or doing something else. So this way it's all like in one PDF packet, and you can go through and see what the steps that I think are going to really help you expand your business line. And that's at slateandbrush.com/freebies.
Awesome. Yeah, that is great. Well, you will try to include that as a link as well, either on our podcast notes or on the direct description of the podcast. So Sarah, if you follow up via email and just like send me that link, I can make sure it's in the notes for the podcast manager so that people can just click that directly if they want to download your freebie. Really glad that you shared that. That is so awesome for people to have. All right, guys, you do know the drill. If you have loved listening to the episode, please make sure that you take a screenshot, share it on social media and your stories, tag Sarah at Slate and Brush, tag us at Biz Birthday Bash, and Cami and I individually if you would like to, just to let us know that you're listening. You can always head over to iTunes, leave a rating and review for us there. We always love reading them. And finally, if you do have questions for us, bizbirthdaybash.com/Q and cake is where you can submit questions to hopefully have them answered on one of our Q and cake episodes in the future. So Sarah, this was really great. I think people are going to get a lot out of it. And it's just been such a pleasure being able to talk to you one-on-one, especially since you've been in our community so long.
Yeah, this was awesome. I've always listened to him like, oh, one day I'm going to be on the show. So I'm glad it finally happened. And yeah, like I said, for a long time listener, and so grateful for everything that you guys have built. I would not be here. And I said very sincerely, I would not be here in my business without you guys. You've really laid the groundwork, and I am so grateful that I found you. Someone actually shared like forever ago your podcast on their Insta story, and that's how I found you. So Instagram will definitely show you the right thing in the end.
Exactly. It makes a difference, just that sharing that one small thing. And that it's so cool. I'm just sitting here. I just feel so humbled and honored. I wish I could give you a hug in person.
A virtual hug.
A virtual hug. Yes, virtual hug. So I am sure we will talk soon. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in today, and we will see you next week.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye.